What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the World According to Briggs. My name is Briggs. Have you ever heard the saying, getting away with murder? While doing some research for the murder capitals of the United States recently, I found an FBI crime stat I never really thought about. What percentage of the murders went unsolved? What normally happens when I find a stat like that, I go down this Google rabbit hole and I dig up more information than I'll probably ever use. An FBI report found that roughly 40% of the nation's slayings went unsolved in 2018. Going by 2018 because the 2019 study won't be done till like the middle of summer or something like that. The Bureau looked at 2018 crime stats and arrest data from 16,000 law enforcement agencies across the country and found that only 61.2% of reported murders were actually cleared. The FBI considers a murder case cleared when a person is arrested, charged, and turned over to the courts, or when the offender or offenders are identified but cannot be arrested because they either died or they can't be extradited. So, for whatever reason, people are getting away with murder in some cities more than others. Let's see what cities those are, starting with Number 10, Topeka, Kansas. Most people don't think about Topeka, Kansas, ever. I'm sure if you asked a bunch of high school kids that aren't from Kansas what they knew about Topeka, they would say it's what American Indians used to live in, and then you would have to stop asking them questions and explain that it's a city in the middle of the country and not where Native Americans used to live, which are actually called teepees. A year after Topeka saw a record 30 homicides in 2017, the number of slayings was down dramatically in 2018, with 17 homicides reported in Kansas's capital city. Only 32.7% of those homicides were cleared. Number 9, Detroit, Michigan. At number 9, we have a great American city that hasn't pulled itself out of an almost 4-decade-long nosedive until just recently, and not by much. In the last 2 years, Detroit has sort of turned the corner and started getting a little bit better as far as economy goes and other things that go along with it, like less poverty and things like that. Anyway, mainly all the improvements have been downtown. That got better. I get the feeling they've kind of given up on the rest. At least they've knocked down enough abandoned buildings that the locals can now start raising cattle if they want. In 2017, Detroit had 267 homicides. 2018, they got a little bit better, but it was only 261. Out of all those murders, only 31.8% get solved. Number 8, New York City. The Big Apple has seen a lot of killing in its days. You name the way and someone has been dispatched in that manner. New York City was once a place where toe tags were more common than working city buses. In 1969, the city cracked 1,000 murders for the first time in its history. It wasn't until 1996 they got under 1,000 again. The worst year was 1990 when they had 2,245 homicides. 2017 marked the first time they were under 300 since 1951, and in 2018, they got a little bit better. They dropped 3 more and came in with only 289 homicides. The downside of all those great numbers, they're only solving about 31% of the murders in New York City. Number 7, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Look at that. Michigan shows up again, but don't get comfortable there in the Great Lakes state. We're not done with you yet. This stat was not kind to you Wolverines. The chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime in Grand Rapids is about 1 in 38, and that's based on FBI crime data. Grand Rapids is not the safest community in America per capita. It's not that big. And to be honest, I've experienced the violence of Grand Rapids. I was a victim. I was staying at a bed and breakfast in Grand Rapids, probably around 1992. The older woman running the place was named Lila. She told me if I go out the back door, be very careful. So, of course, that sparked my interest. The next day, I had no reason to go out the back door, but there I went. I get to the stairs and I see what the danger was. The stairs going down are covered with small potted plants. There were so many, you could only place 1 foot on a stair at a time. Without all the plants being there, 4 people could have sat there comfortably right next to each other on the same step. That's how crowded it was with small potted plants. It wasn't even big potted plants. They were these little tiny ones. I knocked over a plant going down the stairs and I hear this shriek behind me that sounded like someone who just sat on a curling iron that had been plugged in for an hour point up. I didn't even have time to turn around to see what the old woman was shrieking about when her shoe hit me square in the back. She threw a shoe at me and continued to yell in Hungarian, and that's when it got weird. Her 87-year-old husband, or whatever, he could have been 70 for all I know, he was not in good shape. He comes out from what looked like a duck blind. He was back there nude sunbathing. He came over to see what was going on. He's having a conversation with me. He's got his towel over his shoulder. Nothing else. I'm never going back to Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids only had 16 murders in 2018, but the thing is, they, on average, only clear about 30% of their murders. Now, it's not that many. It seems kind of weird that they're on this list, but since we're going by the stat alone, they're only clearing 30.9% of their cases. Number 6, Kokomo, Indiana. Kokomo always reminds me of a Beach Boys song about a beautiful beach. Kokomo, Indiana is nothing like a Beach Boys song, it's more like a Marilyn Manson song. I saw an interesting news report about this town. They had a series of people being beaten to death back around 2000, 2004. One person who claimed he saw someone leaving the premises of one of the murders while he was eating cereal, well, he got arrested a couple months later and was sent to jail for almost beating a female neighbor to death. After he went to jail in 2004, the beating death stopped. They still haven't cleared those other original beating deaths. You know, I'm not a cop, but I take a long look at the serial eating prisoner right now. There are more dangerous and larger cities in Indiana, Gary, South Bend, Indianapolis, but they solve more of their murders than Kokomo does. Kokomo isn't a safe place for you or your stuff, and their homicide clearance rate is under 30%, 29.8. Number 5, Lima, Ohio. During the 1970s and 80s, a number of industries left Lima, part of the Rust Belt decline affecting pretty much all of Ohio, Michigan, and a few other places. It hasn't had many great years since. These days, it has the same look a lot of Rust Belt cities have. House after house look like they're in desperate need of repair. And then they have the telltale sign of a place that's been suffering from a lot of years. Most of the blocks have a handful of vacant lots. You know, there used to be a home there and they just had to tear it down. Cities in this part of the nation realized about a decade ago that it's actually easier to bulldoze a house than deal with what goes on inside a vacant home. The homicide clearance rate in Lima, Ohio is 24.5%. Number 4, Saginaw, Michigan. More of the Rust Belt and more Michigan. This is a story that can be told over and over. Manufacturing in Saginaw declined in the later half of the 20th century, leading to high unemployment in the city, which led to less tax revenue, which led to fewer police, which led to more crime. As a result, the city's population has diminished drastically from 2000 to 2010. The population of Saginaw proper decreased by nearly 10,000 people. In addition, Saginaw faces increasing social problems related to poverty as a result of the high crime and unemployment. Basically, it's like the only people that stuck around are the a-holes. The crime rate has been a major area of concern for this community, and when someone gets croaked, they don't seem to find suspects as often as they'd like. The homicide clearance rate in Saginaw is 23.3%. Number 3, Midland, Michigan. Not too far from Saginaw, you have the more depressing city of Midland, Michigan. This is the type of town that probably has real estate agents on public assistance. Probably not, but I wouldn't doubt it if they did. If you move here, insure everything. Car, home, life. See if you can get pet insurance. I guess people are stealing pets here. One dude had his turtle stolen out of his garage. He said that he had the turtle his whole life. I guess that's how most people have turtles. They outlast us, and if you get sick of your turtle, nobody wants to take it off your hands, none of your friends at least. You're kind of stuck with the turtle your whole life. They last like 120 years. What's a human last for? 75 if they're doing good? They never solved the turtle heist, and they only solved 23% of their murders in Midland in 2018. Number 2, Honolulu, Hawaii. Who saw this one coming? Not me. I guess the biggest problem with solving any crime in Honolulu is the locals. They won't rat anyone out. With a crime rate of 40 per every 1,000 residents, Honolulu has one of the highest crime rates in America. Your chance of becoming a victim of either a violent or property crime is 1 in 25. 1 in 25. That's pretty low. In Hawaii, more than 95% of the communities are safer than Honolulu. That's not saying much. And not much of it is like sunblock theft or anything like that. They're really stealing things from each other. They don't even solve 20% of their murders. It's 18.8% of their murders are solved. And number 1, Flint, Michigan. You know what? Congratulations, Michigan. You've showed up more on one list than any other state has, unless it was actually a list about a specific state. Nobody is doing good in Flint. Well, maybe a lawyer that helps you sell those structured settlements you're probably going to get from that Flint water crisis, they're doing really well. Flint has so many problems. The fact that they have a low homicide clearance rate is really irrelevant to some degree to a lot of them. Flint is bad all the way around. If you do end up here and you get shot twice, you have a better chance of surviving the shooting than your murder has of getting solved if you don't survive. The homicide clearance rate in Flint, Michigan is only 17.5%. That sucks. Alright, that's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Hope you know where not to get a mortgage now. Don't forget to give the video a big thumbs up. Next week I want to do some videos. If anyone has any suggestions, leave them behind. Maybe you want to hear more about your town or a place you want to move to for tacos. Let me know. We'll see if we can find a couple that'll be fun, and maybe we'll do them next week or the following weeks. Don't forget all the links below. Don't forget to sub if you already haven't. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.